Hello, I'm Anna Bliss, and I am a product manager here. I would say here at Best Buy, if we were on campus like we usually are and in person uh, for Minibar. Um, I work on the digital and technology team. And more importantly for today, I'm a recovering liberal arts major and a huge, huge fan of the metaphor. And um, And so, for our purposes today, we're going to be talking about turtles. And I really like a good metaphor. And in this case, it's turtles because they help us think about things a little bit differently. It helps us look at things in a way that maybe we hadn't thought about. And I hope that you can learn from turtles what I learned from turtles. Now, I should say, as a bit of a full disclosure, this original presentation was put together as a bit of a dare by some coworkers of mine who said, "We know you like metaphors, we know you like turtles. There's got to be something that you can put together there around product management and product thinking with turtles." So let's see what we can learn together here. So let's start at the beginning. This is a turtle racetrack. You'll notice that it's not a racetrack that looks like it's built for horses. It's customized for turtles. It's not customized for humans. Turtles kind of race in their own way. There's a starting line, like in any racetrack. There's a finish line. You can kind of see at the top there, there's something that begins to look like it says there's a spectator line. And that's where people who are there to just watch the turtles race have to stand behind. It's a pretty basic framework, almost unchanged in the 50 plus years that have been racing turtles, at least turtles in Nisswa, Minnesota, where I like to go to the turtle races. There weren't turtle races this summer because everything else was closed down, but they've been racing turtles, rain or shine, for over 50 years there. And much like this very basic framework for the turtles, we are building applications, we're building products for our customers to use. And we sort of expect them to follow a simple framework to make that work. They enter, they exit, they interact with what we're building. But just like the turtles will do, sometimes our customers will do some unexpected things. They'll do different things than we expect. And that's okay. That's part of what we're here to learn about. You'd think, like I said, there's a starting line, a finish line. Turtles are going to follow a particular way to get to that start and finish, but they don't always do that. So I did some highly extensive field research for this presentation in Nisswa, Minnesota, like I said. And this is what I found about a turtle race. It's pretty simple. You buy a button that's sort of your entry fee into the turtle race. You get a turtle in a bucket when your heat is called, and there's a little bit of water in the bucket. When a whistle blows, you let go of your turtle and hope that it gets to the finish line. You can use that water to splash your turtle because sometimes that helps. Banging the bucket is not going to help. It scares the turtles, and in fact, it's one of the few rules in the turtle race. You cannot bang your bucket because it scares the turtles. Heats finish in about 30 seconds, which means that the folks that are running the turtle races can get about 200 people through on any given Tuesday when they are racing turtles. But the key thing is that turtles don't go where you expect them to go or where you want them to go. So let's see a race in action with my field assistants. You see them lined up there. My daughter Solveig and her friends Francis and Laura, and their turtles Caroline, Patricia, and Isabel. So as you can see in that little clip, um, there are there were two turtles that didn't get very far. One who kind of got closer to the finish line, but not by the time the whistle blew again to indicate the end. It's a ridiculously simple format in a lot of ways. Ridiculously simple in the way that we think of our applications or our products. It's wildly successful. You probably have wildly successful products as well. But your customers may be like those turtles that sort of said, yeah, I'm just going to sit here and enjoy the sunshine. Um, Also, you should know, no, you can't bring your own turtle. It used to be that you could bring your own turtle. They're actually turtle wranglers, as it turns out, that capture the turtles at the beginning of the summer, and they get a lovely pond to stay by over the course of the summer, and they are brought in every Tuesday to Nisswa. So everybody gets roughly the same size turtle, and you can't get ringers. So what? So let's look at the turtles. Their only job is to walk in a straight line, but most of them don't. They get onto the track, and some of them do what they want to do. Some of them will actually just pull right back inside their shell and say, nope, not going to do it. Some are going to start out really fast and they'll take a sharp right and get lost. Some of them turn around and go back to the starting line. Some of them will eventually get to the finish line, but they're all going to do what they want to do. And that's really kind of the key. How do we think about these turtles the same way that we think about our customers? In a lot of ways, when we build our app, we build for those turtles and those customers who are going to start at the starting line and go to the finish line and stop. We think about success measures in terms of those turtles who are finishing. We don't always build in the places or the ways for us to measure those turtles or even look for those turtles that are finding their own path to the finish line, that are really more interested in stopping partway through and enjoying the sunshine or doing something else, or maybe they want to go back to the start. When we think about OKRs or KPIs, we're looking for, are we increasing conversion? We don't always look for where are there gaps or opportunities that would allow us to build something new. So, what's the key? Pay attention to your turtles. Watch for those turtles that are doing something different. Some examples from products that I've worked on. I worked for a couple of years on the public-facing APIs that Best Buy has. And these are APIs that allow us to share our product catalog with, say, marketing partners, or we have some commerce APIs that are available, different things that allow people outside of Best Buy to tap information so that they can take our information and put it on their website to help us reach our customers in different ways. This is great. We had an opportunity when we were changing over, of all things, how we were managing our API keys to really look at how are customers using our APIs. And we discovered some things when we started looking for kind of anomalies in the data. And the first thing that we discovered was that we had a lot of API keys that were assigned to people with .edu accounts. Now, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't expect that .edu accounts are going to be doing a whole lot of e-commerce. So we got to wondering, what on earth is happening there? Because there were more than just 2 or 3. There were a lot. So we emailed out to those account holders, those API key holders, and said, what are you doing? We want to know, because this looks interesting. And we found out that there were teachers and professors who are using our APIs in ways that we weren't expecting at all. They were using them in the classroom to help their students understand how to pull large data sets from APIs, how to interact with APIs. And they were using our API because it was easy to access, easy to use, and it was something that, like I said, provided a fairly large data set. Well, in looking through that, we also figured out that we weren't always providing those students with the best opportunities. So we use that API turtle behavior to think about building a sandbox environment for classroom use, because all those students could do was pull our data. They could only read it. They couldn't write to it. They couldn't make any updates to it. They couldn't use those kind of full CRUD API things that you want a student to be able to do. So we built a sandbox environment so that they could do more with our API than just what a standard API key user could do. Another one that we found in looking through the data was a particular a researcher who was pulling our product catalog data because we had a breadth of information available to him that allowed him to do some really great research into Energy Star appliances and their usage. He already had data from a lot of different energy companies around the country that allowed him to know how much it cost, per kilowatt hour for electricity in New Jersey or California or Minnesota, but he wanted to pair that with information about appliances, um, about what the original cost of the appliance was, what the Energy Star rating was, and some other information. And he was pulling our data because our API catalog had the best uh, availability and allowed him to get a lot of appliance data in one pull. Who knew? Not something that we would expect. And the third were people that, like our Energy Star friend, were pulling full catalog product data in ways that we didn't always think made sense. We would see that they were pulling the data, and then they would pull it again later in the day, even though none of that data was being updated with the way that they were being pulled. So we looked again for those sort of anomalies to say there's a better way to do this. And we created ways for people to pull our product catalog, full product catalog, more efficiently, to think about only pulling rather than all of the products and all of the attributes that went with those products, to just pull the attributes maybe that they wanted, or just a portion of the catalog without having to pull everything, without having to create long query strings for what they wanted to do and walk through several pages then of product response. And that we found did move a lot of people to being able to use our APIs in a more efficient way and in a way that made sense to them, because we were looking for those turtles that weren't always behaving the way that we expected them to do when we first built those APIs. As an added bonus, it also meant that when the question came up again of why do we still have these open APIs? Why are we continuing to, there's cost that's involved in having those APIs there. And why do we keep doing that? And we could say, look, here's something that we're doing that maybe isn't bringing in money, but it's something that's good for the common good, because this information is being used for research. So above and beyond just maybe selling more appliances, here's something that we can do to say that we're being a good corporate citizen. Some other examples of paying attention to your turtles. I also worked for a while on the search team at Best Buy, and you'd be amazed what people will put into a search tab or in that search box on an e-commerce site. Now, some things you would expect, they'll use it like a Google search and they'll put in things like cheap laptop. Well, what on earth does that mean? What it means for me might be different than what it means for you. Does it just mean inexpensive? Does it mean something that is almost disposable? It can mean different things to different people. So we had to think hard about what that meant, because those weren't turtles that we were expecting. They weren't searching on MacBook Pro or HP laptop. They were just searching for cheap laptop, or they'll search for competitors' names or products we don't sell. All of those were things that allowed us to really look at, as we were first building that new search engine several years ago now, how to improve the algorithms that we had for our search, how we could improve our search relevancy, and go beyond doing some simple things like creating synonyms for selected search terms, to really think hard about those turtles that weren't just going from start to finish, that were finding their own way through our website using search. And for those products that we didn't sell, sometimes it meant that we would say, we've got a turtle who's trying to finish, but they can't. So we would go to the merchant teams to say, we've had several searches on product X that have cropped up in the last week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Maybe we should look at if this is something that we want to add to the product catalog. Outside of Best Buy, some examples that I have found, some through a really great podcast. If you haven't listened to it, it's called How I Built This. It's a great podcast. Talks a lot about how entrepreneurs built their businesses, how products came to be. One of the ones that I found out about is Play-Doh. Play-Doh, turns out, started out as a wallpaper cleaner. Back in the 30s and 40s, when people were first putting up wallpaper, actually before that, wallpaper was just that. It was uncoated paper. And when it got dirty, there wasn't much you could do to clean it, because it was just paper. There wasn't any coating on it. So some folks came up with something kind of like the magic eraser that we have now, that was like a dough substance that you could use to clean wallpaper. Well, then when wallpaper became vinylized and easier to clean once it started getting coatings on it, they had a product that they couldn't sell anymore because people didn't need it. So they could have looked at this as, now we have a bunch of customers who can't finish our turtle race, or we could think of something else to do. And they figured out, those people that made the original Play-Doh before it was Play-Doh, you know, we have kids who are playing with this stuff like it's modeling clay. Maybe there's something to that. Maybe there's something to this alternative use for this product that we've created. So they made it brightly colored, and it became the product that we probably all played with as kids. I know I played with it as a kid. Frankly, I still have some in the house, even though I'm not a kid anymore and my daughter is 16. It became Play-Doh. Similar story with the Frisbee disc. It actually started out life, and this is how it got its name. They were pie tins from the Frisbee Pie Company, which was established all the way back in 1871. Um, and there were students, I think it was at Yale, who would, they'd go and they'd get their pie, and then they'd have this Frisbee pie tin. And what are you going to do with it? So they started tossing them around, the yard at Harvard, or actually it was the yard at Yale, as a game. And they would yell Frisbee so that people would know, hey, this thing is coming at you, watch your head. And it wasn't until 1948 that somebody said, we can improve on this and use this plastic stuff that's now more readily available to create something more aerodynamic that became ultimately the Frisbee disc. Again, probably a lot of us have them around the house or maybe in the back of the car, but it's something that where somebody was paying attention to, here's a turtle that is using this racetrack in a completely different way. More recently, we could look at Yelp. Probably a lot of you know that when Yelp started, it was built as a site to ask for recommendations, to say, hey, I want to go out to dinner, or I'm looking for a service. Friends who are friends with me on Yelp, can you tell me about a service or a restaurant close by that would be a good place to go? And they weren't getting a whole lot of people signing up. They weren't getting a whole lot of engagement, the people that built Yelp, using that format. So they started looking differently at who their consumers were and how they might be using their platform, and figured out that if they kind of turned things on its head and said, you've been to a great restaurant, you had really great experience, why don't you just push that out to everybody and let complete strangers know that you think you got great service, or the meal was really tasty, whatever it was. And that became the site we all know now as Yelp, where you can go out and say, hey, I had fantastic street tacos at this place around the corner. You should go there too. And that was because they were paying attention, those folks that originated Yelp, to what their turtles were doing. So don't be disappointed if your turtle or customer doesn't get to the finish line. I would really encourage you, as you start to think about how you're building your product, or how you already have your product, for where are those places where you can watch for non-finishing turtles. Look for different paths. Look for those gaps and anomalies, and build in that space. Some turtles may be taking a different path to reach the same finishing line. So if you have something like Adobe Analytics or something that shows you that click-through pathing, watch for those turtles that are maybe not getting all the way through. Where are they exiting? Where are they pausing? Where are they going through different ways through your product to do what you expect them to do? Some turtles don't want to be encouraged or splashed. So maybe look for those turtles that are just stopping or doing something entirely surprising, like those teachers that were using our APIs to teach, not just pull our product catalog data, but use them in a way to teach others. Perhaps your turtle only needs part of the track to enjoy their sunny day. They're never going to finish, and that's okay. Look for those opportunities where you can do something different that might be surprising for your customers, for that way to really provide what could be a good answer to a search on cheap laptop. And give your turtle and your customers the space their little shell needs to enjoy their own race, because they're going to make it their own race. You put it out there. You put it out, your starting line, your finishing line, and you're standing on that spectator line watching your turtles. So give them the space to do whatever their little turtle hearts want to do, because that's part of the fun. That's part of the joy of creating something, is seeing how others are going to use it. So in summary, this is a turtle racetrack. It's a lot like the products or the applications that you build. There's a starting line, there's a finishing line. You'll get your turtles. Some of them are going to start, some of them are going to finish. Some of them might return back to the start, and some of them are going to pull into their shells. Stand at the spectator line and make sure that you are really watching those turtles, because a turtle race hasn't changed much in 50 years, but your application can. Find ways, find those opportunities for your customers to do something differently, because that's going to be your opportunities to change and grow. So I encourage you, if you hopefully this time next year we will be able to be back, or by next summer we'll be able to be out back and turtle racing again. If you're looking to do your own field research, I encourage you to head up to Nisswa, Minnesota. Also stop at the Chocolate Ox, get some chocolate, and watch a turtle race or two. It's great fun. It's entirely ridiculous. And why not? It's a good way to spend a sunny day. Thank you. And if you want to find me, I'm at AK Bliss on Twitter. I also co-host the Twin Cities Product Community on Meetup. Got my LinkedIn here as well. Thank you so much.